The night before my long-awaited trip to Europe, I was folding my favorite travel shirt when my phone buzzed with a message that shattered everything. "You're not coming with us. This vacation is family only." My hands froze, the fabric slipping through my fingers as I forced a calm breath, hiding the storm rising inside me. Family only when I was the one who paid for the house they lived in, the tickets they were flying on, the plans they were following. The betrayal cut deep, but it sparked something even deeper: resolve. If they thought I was just a wallet, they were about to learn how wrong they were. What would you do if your own child erased you from the family you built, using everything you gave them to shut you out? Before we go on, do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We bring you new stories every day. Hit like and let us know what city you are watching from in the comments. I was folding my favorite travel shirt when my phone buzzed against the nightstand. The blue cotton felt soft between my fingers as I smoothed out the wrinkles, thinking about wearing it to dinner in that little bistro Lindsay had found near the Louvre. My suitcase lay open on the bed like a promise, half filled with carefully chosen clothes for our European adventure. The weather application showed sunny skies in Paris, perfect for the walking tours I had printed out and tucked carefully into my carry-on bag. I had been humming an old Frank Sinatra tune while deciding between my brown leather shoes and the comfortable walking sneakers. The tickets to Charles de Gaulle sat on my nightstand next to my passport, both documents crisp and ready. 6 hours until departure. My heart carried that familiar flutter of pre-travel excitement mixed with nervous energy that always came before something big. The phone buzzed again. Lindsay's name appeared on the screen. I set down the shirt and picked up my phone, expecting last-minute flight details or a reminder about meeting at the airport. Instead, I found words that made my blood freeze. "You are not coming with us to Europe. My husband thinks it is better if this vacation stays family only." I read it once, then twice, then a third time, my thumb hovering over the screen like it might change the message if I waited long enough. The sweater I had been about to fold remained suspended in my hands as my mind struggled to process what I was seeing. Family only. The phrase repeated itself in my head like a broken record that refused to stop. I was her father. I had planned this trip. I had bought the tickets, researched the restaurants, mapped out the itinerary during countless late-night planning sessions. What did family only mean when you were talking to your own father? I sat down heavily on the edge of the bed, the suitcase still gaping open beside me. My hands trembled slightly as I typed back the only response I could manage. "Okay." The weight of disappointment settled into my chest like a heavy stone. I looked around my bedroom, seeing everything I had prepared for a trip that would never happen. The travel-sized toiletries lined up on my dresser. The guidebooks with yellow sticky notes marking places we had planned to visit. The new camera I had bought specifically for this vacation still in its box untouched. I closed the suitcase with deliberate, careful movements. Each click of the latches sounded final in the quiet room. Then I called the airline, listening to hold music while I waited to cancel my ticket. The customer service representative was sympathetic but efficient. "I am sorry to hear about your change of plans, Mr. Owens," she said. And I wondered if she could hear the disappointment in my voice as I answered softly. Afterward, I sat in my living room, staring at the travel brochures scattered across my coffee table. The house felt emptier than usual, quieter in a way that made my ears ring. Outside, Mrs. Peterson's dog barked at something in the distance, the sound sharp and insistent in the suburban stillness. I picked up one of the brochures, a glossy pamphlet about Roman architecture, and set it aside on the end table. The gesture felt small and meaningless, but it was all I could manage in that moment of understanding that I had been carefully, deliberately left behind. Evening arrived with the same quiet emptiness that had filled my house all day. I had moved through the hours like a ghost, leaving my dinner dishes in the sink instead of washing them immediately like I always did. The packed suitcase still sat by my bedroom door, a constant reminder of plans that would never unfold. The television murmured from the living room, some evening news program I was not really watching with any attention. I kept checking my phone for no particular reason, scrolling through nothing. Restless energy made my fingers twitch against the screen. Maybe Facebook would provide some distraction from the hollow feeling in my chest. I scrolled past Mrs. Johnson's cat photos, recipe shares from my book club, political posts I did not want to read at all. The familiar blue glow of the screen was oddly comforting in the growing darkness of my living room. Then I saw it. Mr. and Mrs. Owens standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, both of them grinning at the camera with that satisfied look of tourists who had found the perfect photo opportunity. The caption read, "Beginning of the best family vacation ever." The timestamp showed it was posted 2 hours ago. My thumb froze above the screen. Maybe they had taken a separate trip. Maybe this was an old photo they just decided to share. My heart began beating faster as I clicked on the profile to see more photos. There it was. Same location, same time, but this photo included 4 people. Mr. and Mrs. Owens, Todd and Lindsay, all of them clustered together in front of a Parisian cafe, wine glasses on the table behind them. Lindsay's caption made my stomach drop. "So grateful for family time in the city of light." I counted the faces in the photo with trembling fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. The word family burned in my mind like a brand. I set the phone down on the coffee table, its screen still glowing with their happy faces. I stood up and paced to the kitchen window, looking out at my neighbor's house where warm light spilled from the windows. Families together for the evening. The betrayal hit me in waves, each one stronger than the last. I picked up the phone again, hoping I had misunderstood somehow, hoping the photos would tell a different story. But they were still there. Timestamps still fresh, their smiles still bright and carefree. The 4 of them together in the city I had dreamed of visiting, spending the vacation I had planned, using the itinerary I had researched late into the nights. I walked back to the kitchen window and saw my own reflection staring back at me, ghostly and hollow-eyed. Behind my reflection, the phone screen showed their group photo, their happiness overlaid with my solitary image in the glass. The contrast was stark and painful, a visual reminder of exactly where I stood in their definition of family. I had barely slept, tossing and turning, while images of their vacation photos played behind my closed eyelids. Morning came with grey light filtering through my bedroom curtains, and I knew I needed answers. I could not let this stand without understanding why. My coffee mug shook slightly in my hands. As I sat at the kitchen table rehearsing what I would say to Lindsay, the time difference meant it was afternoon in Paris, perfect for a call. I took a deep breath and dialed her number, listening to the expensive-sounding international ringtone. 3 rings, 4 rings, then her voice bright and cheerful. "Hi, Dad." I could hear background noise. Todd's voice. Street sounds. The bustling atmosphere of a European city. "I need to understand something," I said, without preamble. "What is that?" She sounded distracted, probably looking at some monument or shop window. "I saw the photos on Facebook. Mr. and Mrs. Owens are there with you." There was a pause, a long one that seemed to stretch endlessly. Then her voice changed, becoming defensive. "Dad, we can explain. You said it was family only. What am I then?" Her tone shifted colder now. "Look, Todd said you can be overwhelming. He did not want his vacation ruined." The word overwhelming hit me like a physical blow. Ruined. I had planned this trip with every detail in mind. I bought the tickets, and Mr. and Mrs. Owens paid for their own. They do not expect us to take care of them constantly. Constantly. The word hung in the air between us like an accusation I had never anticipated. "I supported you both when that was your choice," she interrupted. "We never asked for a guilt trip." I could hear Todd laughing in the background about something else entirely, his voice carefree and oblivious to our conversation. The sound made my jaw clench with anger. "Honestly," Dad Lindsay continued, her voice hardening with each word. "Todd was right. You are too needy." The phone felt heavy in my hand. "I understand." "Good. We will talk when we get back." "Understood." I hung up without saying goodbye. I set the phone down with deliberate care, the word needy echoing in my mind like a curse. I walked to my office, drawn by some instinct I could not name. The walls were covered with family photos. Me teaching Lindsay to ride a bike. Her graduation from college, her wedding day where I had walked her down the aisle with tears of pride in my eyes. My hands slowly clenched into fists as I stared at these images of a relationship I had apparently misunderstood completely. In one photo, I was holding baby Lindsay, both of us smiling at the camera. My reflection in the glass showed an older man, harder now, with something cold growing behind his eyes. I reached out and straightened the photo frame with careful, precise movements. The small action felt significant somehow, like I was adjusting more than just a crooked picture. I remained in my office after the call, surrounded by the evidence of what I had thought was love, but was apparently just usefulness. Each photo on the wall told a story I was only now beginning to understand properly. The wedding photo where I walked Lindsay down the aisle. I had paid $30,000 for that day. Every detail perfect because I wanted her to be happy. The college graduation picture. I had covered her student loans when Todd could not find work after his own graduation. The house hunting photos scattered across my desk. I'd co-signed their mortgage when the banks would not approve them on their own. Christmas photos showed expensive gifts under trees I had bought. Birthdays where my presents were opened last, almost as an afterthought. Each memory added weight to my chest, a growing pressure that made it hard to breathe. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out bank statements and receipts I had kept from habit. The down payment for their house, $80,000 from my retirement fund money I'd saved for my own future. Car payments I had taken over when Todd lost his first job. Credit card bills I had paid when they could not make ends meet. The vacation fund I had been building for years, money that had bought their tickets to Europe. But it was not just the money. I remembered planned sacrifices I had made that went deeper than dollars. The fishing trip with old friends I'd cancelled because Lindsay needed babysitting. The woman from my book club who had asked me to dinner. I had said no because Lindsay needed help moving. My own travel dreams postponed again and again while I supported theirs. Sunday dinners where Todd barely acknowledged my presence. Holiday gatherings where I felt like an outsider in conversations. The subtle ways he had made me feel unwelcome in their lives while simultaneously accepting my financial support. The pattern was so clear now, I could not believe I had missed it. My hands shook as I stacked the photos face down, unable to look at them anymore. The word needy played on repeat in my mind like a broken record I could not silence. Suddenly, with startling clarity, I understood the difference between being loved and being useful. They had never truly asked me to join their lives. They had asked me to fund them. I stood up so fast my chair rolled backward and struck the wall with a dull thud. In the mirror above my desk, I saw someone who had been taken advantage of for years, someone who had confused generosity with love and received manipulation in return. The reflection showed a man who had been patient and giving and trusting and had been repaid with betrayal and dismissal. I opened my laptop and stared at my bank account dashboard, the cursor hovering over the authorized users section where both Lindsay and Todd had access to my accounts. My finger trembled above the trackpad, one click away from changing everything, but I closed the laptop without clicking. The action suspended tension building like a storm, gathering strength in the distance. Some decisions required more than impulse. Some decisions required planning. I sat in the heavy silence of my office, the laptop closed before me, like a door I was not ready to open yet. The weight of years of manipulation pressed down on my shoulders, and I found myself staring at the family photos I had turned face down. The quiet house seemed to hold its breath around me. Then my phone cut through the silence with that familiar ping of my banking application. I almost ignored it, expecting another routine spam notification about credit monitoring or promotional offers. But something made me pick it up anyway. Maybe just the need for any distraction from the dark thoughts circling in my mind. The screen showed account alert transaction processed. I opened the banking application with my fingerprint, half expecting to see my monthly utility bill or grocery store charge. Instead, the transaction details loaded like a punch to the gut. 7:45 Liberard Restaurant, Paris, France. The timestamp showed 2 hours ago, right around their lunchtime in Paris. My mind connected the dots with painful clarity. Lindsay had used my authorized user card. I had given her emergency access years ago when she was struggling to build credit back when I thought I was helping her become financially independent. The irony burned in my chest. They had excluded me from their family vacation, but were using my money to pay for their fancy Parisian meals. I scrolled through recent transactions with growing disbelief. Hotel charges, shopping boutiques, tourist attractions, all on my card. All while Todd's parents supposedly paid their own way and did not expect us to take care of them constantly. I stood up pacing around my office, with the phone clutched in my hand. Every family photo on the wall looked different now. Like evidence in a case I was finally beginning to understand. The phrase formed in my mind clear and certain, "This is my chance." I opened the card management section of the application, navigating to authorized users. Lindsay's name sat there in black digital letters, representing years of financial access I had granted out of love and received manipulation in return. Another notification pinged on my screen. 85 Bone Adors at Boutique Chic Paris. She was shopping while I sat alone in my house processing their betrayal. That decided it for me. My finger hovered over the remove user button for just a moment. Years of being the supportive father warred with the growing certainty that support and exploitation were very different things. The confirmation screen appeared. Are you sure this action cannot be undone? I selected yes. Remove immediately. The screen confirmed. Authorized user access revoked. I felt my first taste of real control in years, a sensation both foreign and strangely satisfying. I set the phone down on my desk with deliberate care, looking at my reflection in the dark computer screen. For the first time in days, a small smile crossed my face. I walked to my kitchen to make coffee, my movements more purposeful than they had been since receiving that first devastating text. The coffee maker gurgled to life, and through my window, I could hear my neighbor's lawnmower starting up ordinary life, continuing while my quiet revolution began to take shape. The next morning found me at my kitchen table, actually enjoying my coffee for the first time in days. The morning paper lay spread before me, and I was reading about local high school graduations when my phone rang with aggressive persistence. The international number was one I recognized, and I checked the time. 9 o'clock in the morning here, which meant 4 in the afternoon in Paris. I let it ring twice before answering, no longer eager to please or worried about missing their call. Good morning to you too, Lindsay, I said, hearing her sharp intake of breath on the other end. Dad, what did you do to the card? Her voice was immediately demanding. No pleasantries, no concern for how I was doing. I removed your access to my account. Do not give me that. I tried to pay for lunch, and it was declined in front of Todd's parents. The shrillness in her voice could have cut glass. The waiter had to come back 3 times. It was humiliating. That must have been embarrassing, I replied, taking another sip of my coffee. Embarrassing. It was mortifying. You cannot do that. I need that card. For what? I thought you did not need me taking care of you constantly. That is completely different. Her voice was getting higher with each word. Is it... There was a pause, and I could hear muffled conversation in the background before she came back with venom in her voice. You fix this right now or there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? Todd and I have been talking. When we get back, we are looking into care facilities. My coffee cup paused halfway to my lips. Care facilities? You are getting older, Dad. You obviously cannot handle your finances responsibly. The cruelty in her tone was breathtaking. We will sell your house to pay for it. You do not need all that space anyway. I heard Todd's voice in the background. Tell him it is for his own good. Todd says it is for your own good. I sat in long silence processing these threats. They wanted to institutionalize me and sell my home because I had stopped funding their vacation spending. The audacity was staggering. Dad, are you listening? Restore my card access. I heard every word. Good. So you will fix it? No. What do you mean no? I mean no. Enjoy the rest of your family vacation. Dad, do not you dare. I hung up and set the phone face down on the table. My hands were steady as I took a long sip of coffee, looking out my kitchen window at my well-maintained yard. This house I had lived in for 30 years, paid off in full with my name alone on the deed. The house they thought they could sell to warehoused me somewhere convenient. I stood up with new purpose, leaving my coffee unfinished, and walked toward my home office with determined steps. There was work to be done. I pulled my house deed from the filing cabinet, spreading it across my desk like a battle plan, but it was not my own deed I was studying. It was the second property document, the one for Lindsay and Todd's house on Maple Street. My name alone on the title, just as it had been since I bought it for them. I remembered the conversation 2 years ago. Just for the mortgage approval, sweetie. We will transfer it to our names once everything is settled. They had been too busy with their lives to handle the paperwork, always promising to get around to it next month, next season, next year. I found Marcus Chen's business card in my desk drawer. He had sold me both properties, a trustworthy man who understood discretion. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. The drive to his office took me through familiar Davenport streets. Mrs. Patterson waved from her garden as I backed out of my driveway, her friendly gesture a reminder of the ordinary morning this appeared to be. 20 minutes later, I parked at Chen Real Estate, housed in a converted Victorian that Marcus had restored with obvious care. Marcus looked up from his computer as I entered, surprise and pleasure crossing his features. "Gary, good to see you. How is retirement treating you? I need to sell the Maple Street property. Quickly." He paused, his experienced eyes reading something in my expression. "The house you bought for Lindsay. Is everything all right?" "Everything is fine. I just need it sold. What is the market like?" Marcus turned to his computer, pulling up comparable sales with professional efficiency. "Market is hot right now. Properties like that in that neighborhood. 180,000, maybe 190,000. The number hit me with satisfaction. I had paid 130,000 2 years ago. "How quickly are we talking?" Marcus asked. "As soon as possible. Price it to move." He pulled out listing paperwork, property inspection schedules. His movements practiced and reassuring. "We will need photos, maybe some staging. I could have my team there tomorrow. The house is currently occupied." "Oh, will Lindsay be handling the showings? Lindsay's in Europe. I have keys." Marcus looked slightly confused, but professionally accepting. "What would you feel if your own children excluded you but still expected to use everything you had built for them?" Share your thoughts in the comments, even just type number 1 if you have ever felt betrayed. We discussed listing price commission, closing timelines. I signed the listing agreement, my signature firm, and decisive. "I will start marketing immediately," Marcus said. "In this market, we could have offers within days." We shook hands and I appreciated his professionalism, the way he asked no unnecessary questions. Walking back to my car, I felt lighter than I had in days. The classical music from my radio filled the silence as I drove slowly through downtown Davenport, seeing my hometown with new eyes. At a red light, a young family crossed the crosswalk, father carrying a toddler, mother pushing a stroller. I remembered when Lindsay was that age, before everything became about money and manipulation and what I could provide rather than who I was. I pulled into my driveway and sat for a moment looking at my mailbox with Owens painted on it in faded letters. The name felt different now, like it meant something again. I walked up my front steps, keys jingling in my hand, a sound that promised more changes were coming. Inside my house, I opened my laptop to find an email notification from the real estate listing service. "Property listed successfully" appeared on the screen, and I felt a surge of satisfaction seeing those words appear in bold letters, as if they were affirming a decision long overdue. But there was more work to be done, much more than just a click on a real estate listing. I opened a new browser tab and searched moving services, Davenport, Iowa. Large corporate companies filled the first results, polished websites with customer service lines, but I scrolled past them looking for something personal and reliable, something that felt human. I found Dave's Honest Moving, a small operation with good reviews, family-owned for 15 years, the kind of business where you talk to the owner, not a call center rep reading from a script. I dialed the number, hoping for exactly that. "Dave's Moving. This is Dave." The voice was deep, straightforward, no corporate script, no rehearsed tone. "I need help moving some belongings tomorrow." "It is a time-sensitive situation. What kind of timeline are we talking about tomorrow morning, if possible?" "It is a full house worth of items." "Where are we moving from and to?" Dave asked without hesitation. I gave him Lindsay's address, explaining that everything needed to go to storage. "Storage unit lined up?" he asked. And I realized I needed to arrange that too, another task on the growing list. "I can recommend Secure Storage on Brady Street," Dave continued. "Work with them all the time. Want their number." Within minutes, I had Janet from Secure Storage on a 3-way call discussing logistics in calm detail. "For a full house, you will want at least a 10 by 20 unit," Dave advised. "First month paid in advance. That is $120, Janet added. "I will take it." "Could someone meet us there tomorrow?" Back on the phone with Dave. "My truck and 2 guys. We can start at 8 o'clock in the morning." "What is the address again?" I provided Lindsay's Maple Street address, adding, "The residents are out of town. I would prefer to have everything done before they return." "Understood." Family situation. Dave's tone suggested he had navigated these waters before, something like that. "Been there myself. Will be efficient and respectful." After ending the calls and paying for storage online, I made myself dinner with an appetite I had not felt in days. I set my alarm for 6:30 in the morning, earlier than my usual retirement schedule, and laid out work clothes, my old jeans and boots from my contracting days, before I'd become someone who funded other people's dreams instead of pursuing his own. I sat in my living room watching the evening news with a sharper attention. The weather forecast promised clear skies perfect for moving, no rain to complicate the effort. Everything was falling into place with a precision that felt both satisfying and inevitable. That night, I double-checked that my phone was charging, setting it carefully on my nightstand next to a glass of water. In the bathroom mirror, brushing my teeth, I saw someone I barely recognized. Someone ready for action. Someone who had stopped waiting for permission to take control of his own life. I arrived at the Maple Street property at 7:45 in the morning, 15 minutes early, as was my habit. The familiar house looked different to me now, stripped of sentiment. Not my daughter's home, but simply a property that needed to be cleared like any other assignment. Dave's moving truck was already parked outside, engine running, exhaust visible in the crisp morning air. Dave emerged from the cab as I pulled up, a sturdy man in his 50s with the practical demeanor of someone who had handled countless family situations without judgment. His two crew members, younger guys in matching company shirts, were already unloading equipment with efficient movements, their faces focused. Mr. Owens. Dave extended a work-roughened hand, ready to get started. I unlocked the front door with my spare key, the house silent and empty in a way that felt almost appropriate. We walked through room by room, Dave assessing furniture and personal items with a professional eye. This is going to take about 3 hours, maybe 4, with the heavy pieces, Dave said, making quick notes on his clipboard. I pointed out what belonged to Lindsay and Todd, which was essentially everything in sight. The expensive sectional sofa I had bought them last Christmas. Todd's elaborate home office setup with gaming equipment that seemed excessive. Lindsay's extensive wardrobe that filled 2 walk-in closets from floor to ceiling. The crew started with boxes from the bedrooms, wrapping and labeling with systematic care. I insisted on helping despite Dave's polite protests about liability. I am not that old, I told him, earning a grin from one of the younger workers as I hefted a box. Soon I was carrying boxes labeled Lindsay's books and Todd's sports equipment, feeling a strange satisfaction at watching their possessions being packed away so methodically. In their bedroom closet, I found photo albums from their wedding. Flipping through, I noticed I was conspicuously absent from most pictures. Todd's family prominent in every shot, while I appeared in maybe 3 photos, always at the edges like a shadow. I closed the album and handed it to Dave's crew without a word. Room by room, we cleared out expensive items I had nearly forgotten I had bought them. Designer handbags, electronics, the leather dining set I had purchased for their first anniversary, all reminders of past generosity. My back started to ache, but I pushed through, driven by a purpose I had not felt in years. In what would have been a future nursery, I found baby furniture they had optimistically assembled for grandchildren that never came. For a moment, doubt crept in. Was I being too harsh? Then I found Todd's credit card statements tucked in a drawer, showing luxury purchases while they claimed poverty to me, and the doubt evaporated completely. "You okay, Mr. Owens?" Dave asked, noticing my pause. "Just memories. Keep going." By 11:30 in the morning, we finished our final walkthrough of the empty house. Rooms echoed differently now, afternoon sunlight streaming through bare windows onto vacant floors that looked strangely larger. I locked up and pocketed the keys, following the moving truck to secure storage, where I watched their belongings disappear into Unit 47B. I paid Dave in cash, adding a generous tip. "Hope everything works out for you, Mr. Owens," he said with genuine warmth that I did not expect. Driving home alone, I saw my phone light up with a Facebook notification. I pulled into my garage, the device still buzzing in the cup holder like an insistent reminder that my quiet morning was about to become much more complicated. Inside my house, I finally checked the buzzing phone to find multiple Facebook notifications. Lindsay had posted angry status updates. Some people have no respect for family privacy. The comments showed friends asking what happened with Lindsay, playing the victim to perfection. I closed Facebook without responding and called Marcus Chen back. "Gary, great news." Marcus's voice was excited. "We have a serious buyer. Cash offer already. Young couple just relocated here for work. They love the neighborhood." He paused for effect. "Offer amount is $185,000 higher than we expected. The number hit me with satisfaction. When do they want to close? That is the thing. They want to close immediately. They could move in this weekend if possible. I checked my calendar. Today was Thursday. This weekend, they are in a corporate apartment month to month. Very motivated buyers. Marcus's enthusiasm was infectious. Can you handle expedited closing? I can have paperwork ready by tomorrow. Make it happen, I told him without hesitation. Friday morning found me at the title company office signing papers with methodical precision, each stroke of the pen a deliberate choice. I met the buyers, Michael and Sarah Thompson, early 30s, bright-eyed and eager. The kind of hopeful young couple that reminded me of Lindsay and Todd before cynicism and entitlement had taken hold. We love what you have done with the landscaping, Sarah said during our final walkthrough of the empty house, her tone genuinely appreciative. I did not mention it was not my landscaping, just offered a polite nod. It is perfect, Michael said, accepting the keys with visible excitement. We can move in tomorrow morning. The bank transfer confirmation appeared on my phone. $185,000 minus realtor fees equaled $17,500 profit. I had turned my gesture of paternal love into a solid business win. Saturday morning, I decided to drive by the property one last time. I arrived to see a U-Haul truck in the driveway, Michael and Sarah directing movers, with infectious energy and optimism. A baby crib was being carried inside a young family starting fresh in a house that had seen too much disappointment. I parked across the street watching Sarah plant flowers in the front garden while Michael assembled a swing set in the backyard, laughter and determination in the air. My phone rang with an international number and I answered just as a taxi pulled up to the house. Perfect timing. Lindsay stepped out first, exhausted from travel, but immediately alert as she surveyed the scene with narrowing eyes. Todd paid the driver, his face shifting from confusion to alarm as he processed the U-Haul truck and strangers in what he considered his driveway. "Excuse me, Todd," called to Sarah, who looked up from her gardening with friendly curiosity. "What are you doing in our house?" Michael appeared in the doorway, paperwork in hand. "Your house? I think there has been a mistake." I got out of my car and walked calmly toward the scene, pulling an envelope from my jacket pocket. Lindsay spotted me, her face shifting from confusion to understanding to pure fury in the span of 3 seconds. "Dad, what is going on here? Why are strangers in our house?" Lindsay's voice carried that sharp edge I had grown tired of hearing. Michael and Sarah exchanged worried glances, their smiles fading into tension. Sarah still holding her gardening tool like she might need to defend her new home. "Sir, I do not know who you are," Todd said to Michael. "But you need to move your belongings out immediately." Michael held up his paperwork firmly. "I have the deed right here. We closed yesterday." "That is impossible. This is our house." Sarah's voice was small but determined. "Maybe we should call the police." I stepped forward, my voice carrying the calm authority I had learned in my years managing construction projects. "That will not be necessary." Lindsay's tone turned demanding. "Dad, fix this now." I addressed Michael and Sarah first. "I'm sorry for the confusion. Please continue with your move-in." Then I turned to Lindsay and Todd. "The house was sold because it belonged to me." Todd's face reddened. "What do you mean belonged to you? Check the original deed." "It was never transferred to your names." Lindsay's voice rose to that familiar shriek. "You cannot just sell our home." "I can sell my property," I replied evenly. "Which is exactly what I did." "This is theft. We will sue you." Todd was practically shouting now. "With what money? I believe your credit cards were declined in Paris." Michael whispered something to Sarah, who nodded and started toward their front door. Their front door now. "Please go inside," I told them. "This does not concern you." Lindsay's voice turned desperate. "Where are we supposed to live? Where are things?" I extended the envelope I had been holding. Todd snatched it, tearing it open with angry fingers that shook with frustration. He read aloud, "Secure storage. Unit 47B Brady Street." "Storage?" Lindsay's voice cracked sharply. "You put our life in storage. I preserved everything carefully. First month's rent is paid." Todd crumpled the paper in his fist. "This is insane. You cannot do this to family. Family does not exclude fathers from family vacations. That is completely different." "Is it?" Todd stepped closer, trying to intimidate through proximity and height. We will contest this. We will fight you in court. The sale is legal. The property was mine. Lindsay's voice turned manipulative, the same tone she had used since childhood when she wanted something she thought she deserved. How could you do this to your own daughter? I looked at her for a long moment, my silence deliberate. How could you do what you did to your own father? Sarah emerged from the house, concern evident in her voice. Is everything all right? Everything is fine, I said to her, steady and calm. Enjoy your new home. Lindsay and Todd stood on the sidewalk, their European luggage still in hand, looking like tourists who had taken a wrong turn into someone else's life. I walked back to my car with measured steps, my work boots solid and certain on the pavement. This is not over, Todd shouted behind me, voice cracking with anger. I got into my car and started the engine, classical music resuming where it had left off, filling the silence. Yes, it is. 3 months later, I was reading the morning paper when my doorbell rang. A process server handed me legal documents, Lindsay and Todd's lawsuit. I signed for them without surprise, as if expecting it. By afternoon, I was reviewing the court's decision in my kitchen. Lawsuit dismissed. Property owner had legal right to sell his own property. The judge had been thorough and unsympathetic to their claims. Todd and Lindsay were responsible for their own attorney fees. My lawyer called within an hour. Clean victory, Gary. They have no grounds for appeal. The local newspaper ran a small article. Family property dispute resolved. I filed everything in my new folder labeled Legal Victory and moved on with my day. The town's gossip network had been buzzing for months. At the coffee shop, I overheard conversations. I always thought that son-in-law seemed entitled. Others said Gary Owens worked hard his whole life. He deserved better. Some disapproving voices murmured, family should stick together. But I had learned to let other people's opinions roll off me like water on stone. Running into Marcus Chen at the hardware store, he asked, "How are you doing?" with everything better than I expected. That afternoon, I visited the pet store I had noticed months ago. Max, a 3-year-old golden retriever, was looking for a new home because his family was moving overseas. He has been with a family good with people, loves car rides, the owner explained. I knelt down and Max approached immediately, tail wagging, like he had been waiting specifically for me. The connection was instant, undeniable. Max seeming to understand my loneliness. Me recognizing his need for a companion who would not abandon him. An hour later, Max was riding shotgun in my car. Head out the window, ears flapping in the wind. Both of us heading towards something new. That first night, he slept by my bed, and for the first time in months, neither of us felt alone. With Max at my feet, I researched travel trailers online. Best RVs for senior travel led me to articles about freedom and adventure. At RV dealerships, salespeople were eager to help, their voices filled with practiced cheer. I test drove a 25-foot Airstream, perfect size for one person, and a dog who had claimed the passenger seat before we had even signed papers. I used the trade-in value of my second car plus savings to purchase it outright. Max loved RV life immediately. We planned our route with care. National parks, small towns, places I had always wanted to see but had postponed for family obligations. The morning we left Davenport, my house was prepared for extended absence. I had arranged a mail hold and asked neighbors to watch the property. Loading the trailer, I packed camping gear, Max's supplies, and one photo album. Pictures of Lindsay as a child before disappointment changed us both. Max sensed adventure coming. His excitement infectious as I started the engine and checked the trailer connection one more time. We drove through Davenport one last time, past familiar places that looked smaller now, as if they belonged to another life. Passing Maple Street, I saw Michael and Sarah's children playing in the yard. The house finally filled with the joy it was meant to hold. The highway sign read Colorado 500 miles. Max had his head out the window, ears flapping in the wind, my hands steady on the steering wheel. Both of us finally free, no longer bound by old expectations. That evening, we stopped at a scenic overlook in Colorado. I opened a camping chair as the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple I had never taken time to notice before. Max settled beside me, content and loyal, no agenda beyond companionship. For the first time in years, I was exactly where I belonged. Sitting there, I realized something I had ignored for too long. I had spent decades mistaking sacrifice for love, mistaking financial support for connection. And when those illusions crumbled, I thought I had nothing left. But in truth, I had myself. That was enough. It struck me then, freedom is not given, it is claimed. I had let guilt and obligation dictate too many of my choices until the very people I supported believed my existence was nothing more than a resource. Now with the road ahead and Max at my side, I understood that love must be chosen freely, not demanded, not purchased. This journey was not about escaping. It was about starting again. I carried no bitterness, only clarity. Sometimes you have to lose what you thought was family to find yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that is the family worth protecting, the one you build with honesty, loyalty, and peace. That is my story, and it is also my lesson. If you have ever carried the weight of being useful instead of being loved, I hope you hear me clearly. You deserve more. You deserve to choose yourself. I would love to hear your thoughts. Share your own experiences of letting go, of starting again, of choosing freedom down in the comments. Your voice matters, and someone else may need to read what you have lived through. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell if you want to hear more stories like this, stories of strength and rediscovery. And drop the phrase "choose freedom" in the comments to stand with me in this truth. Thank you for spending this time with me. I will see you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and never forget the power of beginning again.